not sometime after midnight. I normally don't film this late. Yeah, sometimes I do. Usually with my makeup on, but I know. What I'm making right now is something I've tried and struggled real hard to make for the last few days, last few nights. And level of hardship I've gone through this last 40 days. It's been the most difficult 40 days of my life. I've been through some pretty hard shit in the last year. I mean, this whole last year since we were evicted from our apartment of 23 years has been incredibly difficult, incredibly sad, tragic. And every day that I'm alive is a miracle that I don't know. Maybe I'm just lack the courage to do what my old self would have already done. I was very unhappy and miserable after my father died. Everything had seemed to have gone wrong. My whole life I was supposed to be the dawn of my family. And, but my family just held the transgender thing over me for so long. One side of the family lied to me about dying family members not wanting to see me. No, that was the case. Now all relations are cut. Right now, I have no family. It's been hard, you know. I'm not a single blood family member has yet to say, I'm sorry for your loss. Please accept my condolences. I'm sorry about your mom. Nothing. No one. Not a single one. Can't pick up the phone. You know, got my history. I tracked down even distant relatives and I would do the right thing. Now these people can't be bothered because they hate me that much because I am who I am, and hey, I didn't ask to be transgender. It's not a choice. I was born this way, you know. Pretending to be the role I was assigned to be wasn't working out. Wasn't working out at all. You know, I did everything I possibly could. And I hated every second of it. But I did because, you know, I hated being without family, but I don't have any. I was the only child, mind you, so, yeah, losing my father. Losing my uncles. Losing my mother. And now I have no one. It's hard. So, aside from losing my mother and everything, yeah, so my nightmare has just gone into overdrive. You know, I find out, you know, of course, DFS has been making a really ugly case to come after my children, but it's not about them at all. No, it's about me. Why am I always the target? Why am I always the villain in all this? It's a common denominator in this. I noticed that in everything they write. They love to dead name me. They love to slander me. They love, I mean, you don't see any of that on when they mention my wife. In fact, they barely even mention her. It's like she's not even part of the damn lawsuit. Or the 6 previous lawsuits. It's almost like she's not even being accused of anything. Yeah. And it's really kind of fucked up, you know, that if someone makes a fucking phone call and the police arrive, they might want to speak to my wife for a moment, maybe. But if but ultimately, there's usually about 8 to 12 men, hands on weapons, not drawn, but they're on the ready. Or they're doing the war dance, you know. And they all look at me with intense prejudice and hatred. Now, I've been already victimized by the LAPD and the LASD. So I have absolutely no love for cops whatsoever. You know, if I were ever granted the ability to travel again, because Donald Trump won't let trans people travel unless we submit to his bullshit, and we're not doing it. You know, there's real cops out there, you know, in Europe and Japan too. You know, maybe not to be so glamorous, might not be big gunslingers, but you know what? They rarely kill people because they spend the first 3 years of training learning ethics and de-escalation techniques before they even handed a weapon to train with. Now this stupid country, now a few weeks of learning how to subdue people and how to arrest people and how to kill them. Because unlike the movies, they never go shoot in the arm, at the leg or something. They're not interested in saving lives or preserving lives. That's why every time an autistic person is the subject of a call, that's autistic person usually ends up dead, especially if they're a minority. I mean, I count my blessings that I have a lot of European blood in me. That, you know, I'm not as your typical person whose family comes from Mexico. You know, it's like a little darker skin because, you know, they got some of the native ancestry in there as well. You know, yeah, I got all that colonizer blood, all that conquistador shit. You know, blame me. You know, just that side of the family rejects me completely, and they've been hurtful. So, lost my mother, lost an entire wing of a family, the only one that was left. Then, again, inheritance, but I had to fork up about half of it right away because no one will rent to us unless we pay off the charge-offs and the debts, break up the credit scores, and we did. So we did. DMS hauls us into court, lots of threats, and they feel that they can slander me any way they want and treat me like a child. And, you know, assure me they're not trying to put me behind bars, but yet they want to inspect and supervise me. You know, it's not about the kids. It has nothing to do with the kids. Somehow or another, someone over there's got the hair up her ass against, you know, trans people, and they just feel that I don't know, maybe they're listening to some of these white nationalist pundit buttheads out there that don't believe that any LGBT people should have any contact with children. Well, I'm sorry, these are my children. I've had 2 wives. I've had 4 children, okay? I was there for the births of all of them. I have raised, at least a significant time, I have spent almost 30 years of my life raising children. So how dare these motherfuckers come in and say, you know, we think we need to inspect you. We need to supervise you. Fuck you. Fuck you, Guadalupe. Pendeja. Si estás mirando tus sueños. Well, I rate this just to make threats, but every time I hear this person's name after reading what they wrote about me, it makes me very hostile to this whole thing. So far, I said I'm not taking the fucking bait. I refused to dignify their charges. You know, they can say whatever the fuck they want. You know, bad things happen to people across me, and I don't have to be anywhere near it. You know, that's just a matter of fact. You know, it's a strange coincidence, I guess. I don't know. They really made an issue in this lawsuit. They're trying to say that I'm crazy, and and they made some mention about Bigfoot. I don't even know what the fuck are they going with that. I don't know, because it was like, I made a joke a long time ago. I'm with these people that you want to see ghosts, you want to see UFOs or something. You know, I have this weird knack to somehow track them out in the wild. Somehow I'd probably run into Bigfoot. I said maybe somehow or another they wrote a whole fucking page about Bigfoot in this lawsuit. This is how stupid these idiots are. This entire court case is a serious misallocation of taxpayer funds. I mean, they should be investigating, people that are actually harming children or kidnapping them or what have you, or abusing. That's not us. We're just nonconformists. We're not the typical white nuclear family, and we never will be, because that family never existed. That family never existed. It was a myth made for television. And from what I'm told from the people that lived in that era, they didn't believe it then either. But that's how they want to frame it. So I'm being judged and threatened with jail time by this department because my child had her first period. Okay, she's developmentally delayed. She should have had it 3-4 years ago, but okay, she has her first one at 14. We didn't see it coming. We didn't have a pad, and they had made a case that somehow or another me failing to do laundry that particular day. Mind you, we're homeless. It's grounds for hauling my ass in the court, costing me money, cost me time, cost me aggravation, and endless nights of my children crying, especially my autistic child. She's afraid she's going to be taken away. These people should seriously take a long walk off a very short pier in Santa Monica. But anyway, that's just my opinion. But that's not the end of my problems. Because, the other week, my daughter had to have surgery, and every time we have to put her under, it's, your heart kind of stops, because, something can go wrong, and she could probably never come out of it. It was minor surgery, whatever, but the anesthesiology is the scary part, for her at least. And I got a little emotional. I mean, I just took my hormone injection, and I was thinking about talking to a nurse, just small talk, as my daughter's recovering, and I was telling them about, every struggle. I mean, they told us this child wasn't going to make it. She'd be lucky to live 13 months. She's been battling and winning, and she's still alive. I mean, she still needs so much help, and and she's put it through a lot of hell. And it's just some days I just say, God damn, I don't want to do this anymore. This is not what I signed up for. This has been the hardest thing to do, raise a child with autism. Every parent I've ever known that's had a child with autism is, they know the struggle, and everybody who's not there to help, not there to see the meltdowns, not there to have the comforting, crying children, or not there for when the police arrives each time because somebody who doesn't understand the situation, why this child is screaming, thinks they're harming them. They're pointing fingers at me. I can't tell you how many guns. I've lost count now. It's been so many fucking guns pointed at me with a man standing right behind it who is looking to kill me. If you were to meet me, and maybe if we had something in common, I'd be very polite to you. If you speak eloquently, if you speak to me with kindness, I could be quite delightful at times. I could be rather charming, so to speak. But talk to me on a guttural level. Treat me like a criminal, and you're going to get a different person. I am in a state of mourning, and I've been dealt with one level of hurt after another since my mother passed. I got a little money, but that money, we've been trying to save my storage. Turns out it's too late. They liquidated everything I owned, all my furniture. I don't have a single photograph of either of my parents or any of my family member. I have nothing now. almost all my clothes, all my rock star portraits, all my musical equipment, everything I've ever written. I published 14 books. I don't have any way to reproduce them now. I'm devastated. I'm fucking devastated. Angry, hurt, and devastated. Everything I owned is gone. And I didn't get a chance to save it. I finally got a little money and it came too late. I had insulted him, and the shock of it all is just devastating. I was supposed to, there was so much, especially the mementos from the Vietnam War, I was supposed to pass on to my son. I have nothing to give him now. Yeah, the son and heir of nothing in particular now. Meaningless now. Everything is gone. It's like my family never existed. It's one of the most devastating things that's happened to me. I've had a lot of bad things happen. And because I have this minor breakdown about it, I became emotional. I said, and then here's the DFS still coming at me despite all this. They're still coming at me with a vengeance. My wife told me that, we lose the children. That's the end of us. And I said, well, if that's the end of us, that's the end of me too, because I depend on you. I can't go back out in the workforce. I'm almost 60 years old and I'm so dysfunctional now. Even being a caregiver is tough, but I do it. But that's it. Just for my children. I can't do it for anybody else, and I refuse to. I gotta go clean no fucking houses. God damn. I was meant to be something bigger and better in this world, and maybe I still have one more minute of fame awaiting me. But everybody wants me to be poor for some reason. Nobody trusts me with money for some reason, and I've never had an opportunity in my life to ever spend any. So here I'm giving like 30 grand. In less than 2 weeks, it's gone. I find out a couple days ago, and I exploded. Now, mind you, I didn't leave that hospital like I planned, because I said, if something happens, the kids. And my wife says that's a no to us. I said, well, who knows? I'm broke. I'm penniless. I have no friends, no family, nothing. I'm probably just off myself. I said that casually, and next thing I know, I've got this big jerk off of a fucking healthcare professional, I'll put it mildly. And he's threatening, he's demanding I speak to whatever. I said, I don't have time. I got to go to a bank. I got to go pay my car note. I'm going to have more debt. I just cleared debt. I can't have any debt, or I can't get a place to live. He didn't care. He said, you're going to talk to him, or you are going to be held on a 5150. And I said, you're out of your I said, you're being unreasonable. And he says, no, that's it. I'm putting you on a 51. I said, fuck you, asshole. And next thing you know, he pulls back her, and there's 12 fucking officers, and they're all like doing the war dance and clenching their fists and holding their weapons. I mean, they didn't draw them, but they had their hands on, on their sidearms. Like, I said, look how I'm wearing a dress. I have makeup on. You don't want to know what's under the dress, okay? But I'll tell you what. Oh, Jesus fucking Christ. They need a 12-man. Just like do me. That was humiliating, and I want to fucking sue their asses for it. Fucking cunts. I don't care if I'm dying and bleeding or having a heart attack. I am never going to see your Sinai after this. One dimension. Anyway, so luckily I didn't go to Men's Central, thankfully. I'm not sure there's a gay word anymore, thanks to Donald Trump. God. If they ever stick me in fucking general, I'll be dead, raped, and that's just the jailers. I'm not even the inmates. They threaten me. I mean, I was more threatened by the jailers the last time than the fucking inmates, until I got to Wayside. Then that was bad. But I was terrified for a moment. I lost control of the situation, and I allowed this to happen. And these guys took my blood against my will, roughed me a little, and treated me, I mean, they went out of their way to humiliate me. I fucking cursed them all, called them every curse word in Spanish I could possibly throw at these fucking assholes. Luckily, like I said, some young nurse who claimed to have some sympathy for me and realized that, you know, I was telling the truth. You know, I'm just going through grief. I've had a lot of bad shit happen. You know, I got a little emotional. This is my daughter. This is my baby. I'm her everything. She's coming out of surgery, and these assholes are manhandling me. And then I get that question. It's like, do you want to be patted down by male security or female? I says, I don't want to be petted by nobody unless you're going to fucking, you know, put out. But even then, you know, unless you're my wife, it ain't going to happen. You know, yeah, so luckily, I was given the choice to go between men's or women's. And so I took my own women's hospital. Luckily, I was admitted, and upon arrival, I expressed my gratitude that thankfully I didn't wind up in a men's facility. It wasn't fun. I'll say this. It wasn't fun. There were a couple moments that really sucked, but it was nothing like jail. There was not the level of terror, the sleeplessness, or the starvation, or the constant threats of violence or rape. None of that was there. So, count my blessings there, but I'm still pissed off that, you know, in order to get released, I had to sign away my Second Amendment rights after they just violated my First Amendment rights. And on top of that, they had insult to injury. They're sticking me with a $2,000 fucking bill. I didn't ask to be there. So I just cleared all my debts, and now I got a $2,000 bill. Fuck. You know, I may not be able to get an apartment because of this shit. And I'm just like in shock. You know, I was like, I lose my mom, I lose my family, I lose everything I own, then I lose my freedom, and now I lost my right to own a gun, and for the next 5 years, and I have this fucking demented county government agency that's trying to take my children from me because I think being trans is grounds for investigation. Fuck you. Jessica, if you're watching, I told you I'd be a difficult client, and I tried to shoo you away, but you wouldn't listen. So, more power to you. Anyway, my attorney. Anyway, so my whore didn't stop there. Okay, they managed to not take my kids from me when we went to court this time, but we ain't over yet. We can go back in another 3 weeks. I ain't happy about it because in that time, these bastards are going to come over some of their surprise visits. I don't know what they're looking for. I should plant an Uzi or something. You know, maybe a fake weapon just to get a rise out of them. I don't know. Who knows? You know, I'm that kind of punk rock person who do something like that. You know, but otherwise, just to prove a point, it's like, they have no fucking business interfering in my business, you know. So I get through that fucking drama, and I'm still not over being manhandled and thrown into a fucking mental hospital and locked with some people. Half those women didn't belong there. They were just standing their own ground, and men declared them crazy and locked them up. And they could have kept me there for a long time, actually. If that happened, I would have got transferred to somewhere else, and Donald Trump would have got his hands on me and ordered them to detransition me, and that's death of me. Yeah, I'm never going back to malehood. Fuck that shit. I hated every second of it since age 4. Wow. So then comes the granddaddy of them all. Tried to buy some food the other day, and you know, last I checked, you know, according to my agreement I made with my wife, I was going to help out as much as I could, but I had obligation of my own. I had ambitions. I needed to travel. I wanted to go see a vocal coach in Seattle, and I need to get some music equipment. I have to replace everything I lost and acquire a couple new things, including a new bass. I lost my guitars and everything, and vocal equipment, lost everything. I found out I've got $50 in my name. I went from $30,000 to 50. I am down there, kicked the door open and demanded it. I mean, it got ugly, I'm just like, I was furious. I'm still fucking mad. I don't know how. I mean, the only thing that's keeping this marriage together right now is the fact that we got so many years together. And, deep in my heart, I love my wife and everything. But I'm having very hard difficulties accepting that we lost the apartment. We lost every holiday this year. We lost all our friends. We lost all our family. Now I've lost everything I ever owned and everything that was, I inherited. And now the last money I will ever see from family, last fucking dollar, taken from me. And I'm supposed to be demure and be cool about this, or they lock me up again. I fucking hate this country. I hate what it's become. I mean, push a person as far as I've been pushed. Expect some irrationality. It should be understandable. I mean, this is grief and rage. And I have to somehow contain it because I gotta watch these fucking kids. That everybody keeps throwing in my fucking face. Oh, you can't have a life because you don't have children. I had children before. It didn't prevent me from having a life. All of a sudden, I don't know what happened in 30 years. But for some reason, everybody seems to think I'm not allowed to have a life or a personality or anything. Yeah, maybe that's how they live. But you know what? I'm Generation X, and we write our own rules. Yeah. We're not harming anyone or breaking a fucking law. Everybody can stick their fucking noses up their own asses. Yeah. I resent this case. I do not respect nor recognize the authority of DFS. No more than I respect or recognize the authority of the LAPD or this fascist government that we did not elect, especially at the hands of a South African draft dodger who's also part alien. Yeah. He's got the DNA. Anyway. I mean, we have a one chance to get an apartment this week. We are beyond broke now. And we're out of friends, out of luck. And we're out of donors now. And so let's make a break week. I don't know if I can ever forgive my wife for how things have been managed. I'm very angry at people I thought were my friends that have taken up her side and saying I have no right to be angry or hurt. The fact that everybody keeps taking from me, taking the decisions, the decision-making power, my rights to make decisions over my destiny, pisses me off. Everybody treats me like a fucking child, but when it comes to punishment, oh no, then I get to be an adult. Oh, fuck you. Seriously, go fuck yourselves. All right. So that's a scoop. And that's what I've been going through. So good. Let's make a break week. Maybe a miracle. Maybe something good will happen to us for a change. That'd be nice. All right, folks. Have a good night.